I'm Matt.
I'm Shane.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that thumbs up button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks.
And also click that little bell for all of the notifications.
Whee!
Always remember,
if Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
I just loved Aquaman in the Justice League. Am I right? He's just the coolest.
Yeah, Zack did a great job. Thank you. Thank you.
And all I could think is, thank goodness they found you as Aquaman, because I can't imagine anyone else in the role.
Thank you, Zack Snyder.
Where exactly, or when exactly, does this take place in the DC universe?
I think I'm coming straight from Justice League.
Like, are we talking day after, week after?
Yeah, because in Zacks Cut.
What?
Zacks Cut.
Come on, let me hear you say it just once. Come on.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
We had it where I was with Volko and Mara, and I say that I have to go home, and they say there's this force coming and that I need to help. And I'm like, I'm going home to see my dad, and so I get in the back of a pickup truck and pound a bottle of something, and off he goes, the Wanderer. You know what I mean? So that was kind of like the end of Justice League, where I was going.
you tell him, Jason. And hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
Yes, Jason Momoa confirms the Snyder Cut exists, which we kind of already knew, but one more little piece to the puzzle, one more pie in the naysayer's face. It exists, and he talks about it. He talks about what was in the Snyder Cut and how that leads into Aquaman. Some interesting and exciting stuff, and here we are talking about it a little bit late as usual.
Fuck it. We make our own time, all right?
Yep, pretty much.
We're not going to be slaves to the YouTube algorithm and get shit out on time and when everything's hot.
Yeah, exactly. I just think it's funny. Like, I listened to Chris Wong's episode where he, kind of talks about some of the same stuff. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that one of these days.
We're recording this on the 5th. So when you actually hear this will probably be the 7th. So we'll be way behind.
Yeah, I was going to say the 10th, but
maybe the 8th.
You're pretty solid at editing, so.
Oh, well, thank you for the pat on the back there, asshole.
Yeah, you're welcome. I was trying for some backhanded compliment, but I don't know. There you go.
Maybe you can edit while you're sitting in 4 hours of traffic again.
Yeah, exactly. Almost recorded while sitting in 4 hours of traffic because no one knows how to drive, apparently.
It snowed, and there was ice. Ooh.
And we're not talking like it snowed 6 feet or anything. We're talking it snowed like maybe 3 inches.
And 3 inches is big, okay? Fuck you. All right.
That's a lot. It's not how big the snow is, it's what you do with it, okay?
Yeah, there we go.
It's not how deep it goes.
That should be on a t-shirt. All right. So actually, let's get back to
anyways, here we are, Jason Momoa, so his comments. So he was in an interview with, hold on, Chris Van Vliet from, I have no idea.
I'm just impressed you have the name, so let's just go with that.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad that I can easily impress you because, yeah, I got that, but I can't remember what he's from. It's, I don't know, it's some presser from building to Aquaman. So he asks,
where exactly, or when exactly, does this take place in the DC universe?
I think I'm coming straight from Justice League.
Like, are we talking day after, week after?
Yeah, because in Zacks Cut, we had it where I was with Volko and Mara, and I say that I have to go home, and they say there's this force coming and that I need to help. And I'm like, I'm going home to see my dad, and so I get in the back of a pickup truck and pound a bottle of something, and off he goes, the Wanderer. You know what I mean? So that was kind of like the end of Justice League, where I was going, and then you cut to me coming home and run into a submarine and bango.
Yeah.
And then go see Pops, and I think he's just going to get rooted again. I think he's been gone for so long. It's just him kind of come back to his roots.
A lot of it gets interesting because he's talking about the Zack Snyder cut, and the way that he words it, it kind of makes you think that James Wan's Aquaman film picks up right where he leads off.
that is the answer, I guess, to a puzzling question of what the fuck was he doing in the back of the truck? Because we saw that picture posted by Snyder on Vero. There was a little bit of a clip of it that went around as well. A lot of people thought it was near the middle of the movie. Maybe he's talking to Bruce Wayne. They were at a different point, or when he's leaving to go from the bar or something. But it turns out it's the end of the movie. It was the end of the movie, or near the end of the movie, for Aquaman anyway. He just flat out said it. Jason Momoa has been on a tear lately, and I remember we talked about this a while back when we were speculating a little bit about whether or not either Ray Fisher or Jason Momoa was saying this stuff privately to people at like Comic-Cons and stuff. You know, those people were reporting back saying they said this stuff, and we were like, well, you know, I would really like to hear it from them instead of hearing third-hand information from some random person on Twitter. I really wanted to hear it from them. Well, Ray Fisher, he fucking said it. It's not a matter whether or not Zacks Cut exists. It's whether or not we'll get it. It is Ray Fisher's word. And then flat out, Jason Momoa says, in Zacks Cut, not Zack's version or Zack's original idea, Zacks Cut. He used the word cut, which that warmed the cockles of my heart. I thought that was fantastic that he said cut. That's how Justice League ended, and it merges right into Aquaman.
Yeah, that seems to be the biggest question. We've had some people who have said, oh, that means Zack Snyder's cut is canon. They're going to do away with Justice League. I would love nothing more than for that to be the truth, and to, you know, Zack Snyder's cut to be canon. I don't know. It seems like it. It sounds like it based on the way that this interview is worded. Is you know, it's a very quick clip that has circled through social media. So it seems like that. But at the same time, you know, I'm a little skeptical and I guess somewhat pessimistic that this is that the Snyder Cut is actually canon.
I look at it like this, is that we wouldn't know either way. Like, if we just saw Aquaman, we wouldn't know that had anything to do with Snyder's version if he didn't say anything. And WB knows that. It doesn't mean it's tied into Zack Snyder's version. It just means Aquaman stayed the same way in the beginning as it would have been if we did get the Snyder version. It doesn't really seem to affect which movie it is. It could be the Justice League version. It could be Zack Snyder's version. Either way, it still doesn't change the beginning of Aquaman. If it's Snyder's version, as we know, it makes it more cohesive and it ties in better. It's a better storytelling element, I guess. But I could also see WB, the reason why they pulled that scene was because people gave him so much shit for world building and that they're just trying to line up the next movie. So I could,
God forbid,
I could totally see that being the reason why they yanked this one. I mean, other than obvious other reasons as well, but I could see that being a big reason why they yanked this one. That fear of the unknown with bloggers and critics and stuff, and they just played so cowardly into the situation.
Oh, yeah. It was so simplistic. The cool thing, I think, that maybe plays a little bit into Aquaman tying so closely to Zack's Justice League is the fact that James Wan had an interview with the Daily Telegraph where he talks about how he was in talks with DC, Warner Brothers, and Zack Snyder before they even started making Justice League. And he says he had very good insight into what they were doing and ultimately realized the story he wanted to tell doesn't really clash with what they were doing. He said, I wanted to take my hero in a hero's journey that is basically narrative-wise and a classic quest story that takes us into the 7 worlds of Atlantis. And ultimately, I knew it was such a standalone story that it wasn't going to affect them and they weren't going to affect me. And I could really just make a Aquaman's movie. So he talks about it being a standalone, but he also talks about that, yeah, I was kind of in talks with them and almost makes it seem like I knew what they were doing. I knew for the most part mine was going to be separate, but it almost sounds like, you know, that him and Zack had an idea of, okay, I'm going to set up your movie now, this being Zack, saying the end of Justice League is going to roll right into yours. That's how I read it. Maybe I'm reading too deep into it. You know, maybe I'm getting a little too excited, but it's pretty cool. You know, you read between the lines a little bit. It seems like, as Matt said, that they were trying to world build. They were trying to have these films roll right into each other. And it's very intriguing.
This is pure speculation on my part, but I think this also might tie in to those mirror pictures that Snyder has posted of her being in that little rocks, on the rocks near the ocean. And I think, I'm just saying, I think because the environment looks the same. Like if you look at that little clip, it's kind of gray and cloudy. And in her picture, it's kind of gray. I wouldn't be surprised if Volko is just standing just off to the side there, and she's talking to Jason Momoa's Aquaman right then and there. Like, she's talking to Arthur Curry right then and there. And I'm almost wondering if those two things coincide at all. Just speculation on my part, whether or not that's true.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We never really saw that, you know, where that picture comes from. I mean, it could just be a promo image.
No.
For the most part, a lot of the promo images that Snyder has done, you know, you go all the way back to Man of Steel, and he's in front of a safe. That is a part in the movie. That's a possibility. You know, maybe that's from Aquaman, maybe that's from Justice League. It's pretty cool stuff. You know, they're tying in together. I also like the fact, just to roll into the next part, that Jason Momoa has mentioned Zack Snyder several times. Like, you know, people are talking about, oh, you know, great casting, or, you know, we love your Aquaman. He says, thanks, Snyder. Like, he's recognizing that, and he's not afraid to bring up Snyder's name, and that's awesome. We need more of that stuff.
Repeatedly. I've seen other interviews with him, and he's bringing up Zack Snyder's name again. There's a little bit of a give or take with this for me personally. This is what I think a lot of fans wanted to see a little bit after Justice League, a little bit closer, and wanted to see this overwhelming support from like Ray Fisher and Jason Momoa. I think they wanted to see this, to have the cast backing Zack Snyder from the start. It took them a little bit to get into gear and to start doing it, but it seems like Momoa was just waiting for this platform, like film his movie and then get his platform, his microphone, all these people that are interviewing him, and now it seems like he's just going to unleash everything he can, how he feels about Zack Snyder and what he thinks about the Zack Snyder cut. I think this is his moment that he's maybe been waiting for, is to literally go on this whole fucking hype train and unload. What has he got to lose at this point? Well, I mean, he's got a lot to lose still, but I think, I mean,
nah, he's Aquaman.
I think at this point though, he feels comfortable enough to start saying that because he's got this platform, and it's something we wish we would have gotten a little bit sooner to feel that camaraderie. Because people were talking about loyalty. Do these people have loyalty? Henry Cavill's been out there saying some things, and you're kind of like, is he on Zack's side or not? You know, he seems to wave back and forth sometimes. Whatever seems to be the political answer to say at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Affleck has been pretty quiet about things. Gal Gadot, same thing. But then Ray Fisher and Jason Momoa are they're leading the charge there, whether they mean to or not. This is what we wanted. This is what we wanted. And you can see how much Jason Momoa appreciates what Zack Snyder did. And if you hear his story about how he was going to be casted as Batman, or he came in for a casting as Batman, and how Snyder just kind of wanted to see him for the most part, and that whole story alone, it's fascinating to hear what he thought was going on. This is what we wanted. This is what we got. And I'm so glad that Jason Momoa is saying this stuff. I mean, I don't know. There just seems to be this weird group of individuals that just for some reason really hate a man they've never met in their lives, that they'll never meet probably more likely in their lives, and just feel the need to tear him down and tear anybody down that likes him. So it's an odd time that we're in.
Absolutely. But it's exciting to see some more of this stuff coming out. Zack Snyder being still vocal on Vero, putting some things out there. Jason Momoa, Ray Fisher, really, as Matt said, leading the charge. It's cool stuff. It's exciting. I hope that means that we have something here in the near future. You know, as far as if the Snyder cut is going to be canon, I don't know. We had someone on Twitter that had replied to Matt's cool video that he posted, basically asking the possibilities, what this has to do with Shazam and Wonder Woman 84. I think really only time will tell. I think if they keep a lot of the stuff with that was in Shazam, the Shazam trailers that you know, kind of go, what's the word, harks back, I guess, to, you know, Man of Steel, BVS, Zack Snyder's world that he created. Yeah, exactly. The homages of those. I really think that maybe, you know, they're trying to stay close to this and tie into it, realize their mistakes with Justice League. I don't know. It's all speculation at this point, but it's still keeping us excited, feeding the fire a little bit. So can't let it die down.
And it just leads to more and more thoughts. Like, people talked about how Jason Momoa was one of the actors that actually saw Snyder's full cut as he was just wrapping it up in post-production. And it just feels like the way he said that, Zacks Cut, like he either just knows the right words, or he just, that's how he truly felt, because he's maybe even seen it.
Yeah.
To use the word cut, though, is what blew me away. It's just what he didn't say version or vision or anything like that, or what Zach's plan was. He said cut. And like that just, fantastic shit.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think that'll wrap it up for us, in case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Zack Snyder. It's all his brainchild.
The coolest.
Yeah, Zack did a great job. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Zack Snyder.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. You know, all these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.